What's the most important resource that you have? If you really thought about this deeply, I think you'd come to the same conclusion that Joey and I did. It's time. In our newest book, What's Without Wall Street, the 3 steps to financial freedom through passive income, we talk about how are we tracking that time? What is the thing that we can do to get more of that time back?
That's right. If you've ever been listening to our podcast and thought, man, it would be amazing if I could take all the things that you guys have learned over the last 10 years and just summarize them, put them in some way to easily digest them and take action, that's what this book is all about. You're not going to want to miss it. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/new book and get your copy today.
All right. In all good debates, there should be a moderator, and there's not one today. Because I have a side, and I am 100% going to pick you guys apart. But to start this off, I think we should start off with our stance as to why we believe our specific age bracket will get there faster. And then we'll give each other a little bit of time to maybe go in and pick it apart, and you're going to have to defend it. So, Joey, we're giving you the 25 to 35. There's a reason why you chose that. I want you to talk about why you chose that, and then give us your case. Why is it that your group can make it?
All right, I'm just over here warming up. So if you see me, you hear some, back cracks and everything. I'm just warming up. But I'm going to go ahead and do the complete mic drop right out of the gate.
Oh, wow. Here we go.
The number one thing that people think it takes to get to financial freedom is what? They think it's money. And that's why you say, man, the 25 to 35-year-olds, they're behind. They have no money. They have no access to cash. They're just trying to get started in this world. And I will tell you that is the last thing that they need. Because the rest of the redneck voter, you've heard us talk about on the show, money, opportunity, time, experience, and relationship. I'm telling you, you 25 to 35-year-olds have all the time in the world. You don't think you do. I remember I was in college, I was young married. I didn't think I had any time. And then I had kids. And then I got old like Russ. And I was like, where did all the time go? You have more time and more opportunity to build relationships, to find opportunities, all the other things that are necessary to make a deal, and money will find opportunities. Boom.
Okay, JD, bring your case. You're bringing out the 35 to 50-year-old crowd. So make your case. Why is it that you guys are going to get there?
I love that because you're the host, you wait to go last so you can hear Joey and then my response, and then you can come in, with your response to that. 100%. Yeah, so I appreciate that. But let me just ask 2 questions real quick, and then I'll get into my answers. Joey, how old are you?
How old am I?
That's right. How old are you?
Moderator, I don't know what this has to do with anything.
How old
43.
Are you?
43.
Russ, how old are you?
47.
Okay. 43, 47, I'm 38. And what was my age bracket again?
Are you asking questions I thought you already knew?
35 to 50. Highest likelihood of achieving financial freedom. And you're talking to 3 guys that are so close to being there, right? You guys have $100,000 a month of passive income today. And y'all started 2-3 years ago, right? The fact that our age group, right, our age demographic has the highest earning potential. We have all the learnings from Joey's immaturity years, okay, that we can start using now in our 35 to 50 age range, right? If you've got kids, your level and ability to start earning at a higher capacity is raised exponentially, right? You have much greater financial maturity. And so I think for a number of reasons, in addition to what I've just listed, that is why that demographic of 35 to 50 have the highest propensity, the highest likelihood of being able to achieve financial freedom faster than the young people or the other folks that are,
look, you can't use our podcast against us, okay? The fact that we have all this passive income, that's out of bounds.
We're going to come back to that.
That's out of bounds.
Hey, and by the way, that it was not rigged. I just was going from youngest to oldest. I just thought, hey, this is one of those opportunities where let you guys age before beauty, right? Let you guys go.
That's right.
Or get up to me, right? Here I am.
All right, hit us with
the senior. So there's a great story that I don't know if it's a true story, but it's a great story. And I shared this the other day with my daughter, and I was talking to her on the way up here to Nashville. And she said, Dad, you need to share the story you shared with me the other day about the professor, the art professor. I was like, that's a really good example to kind of explain why I believe that 50 years old and older have the fastest opportunity to become financially free. You may have heard this before, but the first day of this art class, professor decides to separate the class into two parts. The parts on the left, he says, here's what we're going to do. For the whole semester, what I'm going to grade you on is the quality of your work. I want you to create one amazingly beautiful piece of pottery. And I'm going to grade you on the quality of what you produced. He looks over at the other half of the room. He says, I'm going to grade you on the quantity of your work. The amount of pottery that you can create will be the determining factor of your grade. So throughout the semester, right, you got the group on the left, the first group, who's spending all of this time trying to think about what they want to do. And they're drawing it out, and they're looking at Pinterest. They're coming up with all the great ideas of what sort of art this final piece of pottery, this bowl is going to look like. On the right, they're just getting after it, right? They're just doing stuff. They're spending this whole amount of time just creating and creating and creating and piling up these bowls up to the side. And of course, some of the ones they did early on were not good. They were horrible, actually. They nothing to look at. You couldn't even get a cereal bowl out of one of them. But you know what happened, Stallion, as they got to the end, right? And they were presenting their two cases. The one on the left, the first one, presents this bowl. And to be honest, it wasn't that great, right? They had spent all this time. They had thought about all these elaborate designs for it. But yet, in the end, it wasn't that high of quality. But the last group, the second group, not only had they created hundreds and hundreds of different pieces of pottery, but the last 5 or 10 they created were actually the most beautiful bowls that this professor had ever seen. Now, why do you think that not only was that they created a bunch, but why do you think that their quality was so much higher than the first group?
I'm not open to answering questions in this debate.
Because it was reps. It was all about reps. They'd been doing it so much that they had figured out all the wrong things and was becoming more and more efficient as they continued to do it. So what I'm going to say to you is that when you've gotten to 50, I'm not quite to 50 yet. I'm close. I'm 3 years away. But man, we got some reps behind us. I mean, let's just be honest. We have been doing things for a long period of time. And I'm not going to say everything we did was right. But man, we have learned a ton of lessons that you whippersnappers, you little youngins, you ain't got there yet. You hadn't gotten those reps behind you. And so not only am I beating you with the quantity, right? We're going to talk about how much more money I have because I'm at an age where I have acquired a much higher pile of cash than you guys have access to. But I'm going to tell you the quality of my production, the speed at which I can actually produce passive income, or in the art example, the speed at which they could create a new bowl is so much better than what you guys can.
Whatever. Those are my 2 words for that. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you led with that weak sauce to begin with, Russ, because everybody knew that was going to be the loser.
No,
okay. Let's keep rocking.
So all of y'all can all wake up now from that terrible story there. Y'all wake up.
Okay. All right. So here's what I want to start out with. All right. So Stallion, he started out, and I think for us, it's to poke a few holes at him. Okay, JD. So this is if we're going to team up in this situation, this is a chance. And then Joey, you and I will poke some holes at at JD, and then you guys can come to me. Is that good? And then we can keep going back a little.
But now I've only shared one benefit.
I understand. I'm just going from the things that you said, and so I'm going to poke a hole. It's your first point, and then I'm going to let you guys come back.
Okay.
All right. So Joey, you mentioned that the redneck motor, right? And you recognize that the younger you are, the less money you have. Good point. I agree. You have very little money at this stage, typically.
Yes.
And motor, the way that we spell it, is M-O-T-E-R, right? So there's 5 things. So what I heard you say is that they got time. So they got 20% of the items available to them. And you counted that as a success. So I'm just going to say, while you may have some time, I'm going to say that time, when you probably want to add some items to it, that's going to be a problem. But I'm also going to say that I think time can work against you. And here's why. What happens is when someone gets out of college, right? Typically, or at this age of 25, they go out and they get their first job. And the person who is saying, hey, I'm going to pursue financial freedom, they can get impatient because, it takes a while to get going, right? It takes a little bit, just like in my example, as they started spinning out those bowls, they were not able to get them out really quickly early on, while somebody else is out there going to work, W-2 style, getting a paycheck, and making a lot more money. They're probably going out and buying a nice house. They're getting a car. They're adding up those expenses that maybe you're not. Well, one reason you're not, because you're not making any money. And what I think is that time's going to work against you because you're going to get impatient. You're going to see how other people are starting out so much faster than you by doing the typical route that you're going to quit before you get there. What would you say to him, JD?
I mean, I could not agree more with that. I think the level of distractions that exist today in that particular cohort of individuals is a lot. And we live in a world far more focused on instant gratification than ever. And so you have folks that are less focused on going in one direction for long periods of time, right? And so I agree with that sentiment there. In addition to, and I struggled with this too whenever I graduated college, like the average student loan debt balance today of a student graduating in 2024 is almost $40,000. So I mean, you come out of college and you're carrying that $40,000 burden, which is going to eat up a significant amount of resource from your salary, right? And so I think in addition to not just being having a hard time being focused and going in one direction for a long period of time, right? But I think you're also heavily burdened by all these additional expenses with the low income that somebody in my cohort doesn't have to deal with.
All right, so here's your chance to defend.
So here's the reality, guys. At the end of the day, JD's still talking about the lack of money, which again is the least important of the motor. I'm just going to point out to you that the best opportunities find cash. It will absolutely be there.
But wait a second. I thought you were defending not having money. It sounds like you said that you needed money.
Y'all are pointing to the fact that, hey, he's got this expense of this, student loan. And so he's going to be eating up a lot of the money he's making from that W-2. That means he can't make as much money, him to have enough money to invest. And the reality is him investing the money is not nearly as important as him having time and opportunities and relationships. Those are the three things that 25 to 35-year-old can crush that both of your ages do not have. I'll go ahead and tell you that. And then the second thing, when you're talking about distractions, guess what? Both of y'all are in the 35 to 50-year-old range, and I get more Instagram reels from y'all than anybody else. I'm just telling you, you're distracted, okay? That is a moot argument. Everybody's distracted. Everybody likes focus. But the person that wants financial freedom, what are we bringing? Let's bring it back to the basics, guys. Passive income greater than monthly expenses.
And is passive income money?
Only massive monthly expense I have is student loans. I'm going to beat you guys all day because I don't have all these other monthly expenses that you have. My kids' sports, my kids, jujitsu, my Netflix, I'm borrowing my friend's Netflix still. Okay. Y'all don't understand. I am a master of the cheap. Okay. At 25 to 35, I don't have all these monthly expenses. I'm like the janitor in the cash flow game. Y'all ever played cash flow game?
Yeah.
Guess who wins every time? It's the janitor, the dude that makes the least amount of money because he has the least amount of expenses.
But so the janitor is 50 years old.
I'm just telling you, he's 25 to 35. Y'all just never clarified it on the card.
I never saw an age on that card. Did you see an age on that card, JD?
I did not see an age on that card at all.
Okay,
No.
all right. I didn't see college student or recent college graduate as an option.
Mm-mm. No.
I'm just telling you, it was unwritten, but it is the truth.
Okay, all right. So now let's go toward JD. Right? You mentioned a couple of things that I'm going to poke holes in. You mentioned having the highest earning potential, and you mentioned maturity.
That's right.
Well, some of those stats, I'm not certain where you're getting those stats from, because what I find is that a person that's 55 on average, according to the Federal Reserve Bank, says that they make $63,000 more annually than a 45-year-old. I mean, that's just the statistics that people are reporting.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe the IRS is wrong in that, right? Like maybe they've mislooked at the tax return somehow. But I'm just going to say, let's just assume that stat is accurate.
To clarify, because you missed it, was highest earning potential.
Oh,
so just to
okay, you're right. I think it's really on how much money they actually earn, not what they could potentially earn. And in this stretch, okay.
Much like you don't need money to be financially free from Joey,
100%.
Right. Coming from 100 unicorns, I expect that out of him. I'm just saying that I want to stay with actually earnings, not necessarily earning potential.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned maturity, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into that. I mean,
Can I jump in?
did we start getting more immature the older we get? I thought we were maturing. Like the more that we gain insight, the more wisdom we gather. The gray hair that I start getting, people say, that's wisdom. I assume we get that as we continue to age. So maybe I missed your point on that.
Tribe, listen up. We're entering into the election year. This is the time where people are going to get super fearful. We're going to see businesses start to dry up. We're going to see opportunities, though, pile up for us only if we're prepared.
That's right. You get to choose right now. Will you allow this time frame to negatively affect you and your business and your investments? Or will you be prepared to take advantage of these huge opportunities that come on the backside of this because you're prepared with cash?
Let's get our house in order. If you haven't already maximized the infinite banking concept in your life, here's the chance for you to start learning. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/IBC. Take our free webinar so that you can start getting equipped with the things that you need to know so that you can take action on this looming event.
I'm going to hit that as well, because at the end of the day, maturity can also align itself with being stuck in your ways. Okay. There are people in the 35 to 50-year-old range that have always done things a certain way and they don't want to change. Whereas the 25 to 35-year-old is like, man, that one thing wasn't working. Let me try something else. Let me try this wealth without Wall Street practice and get away from Wall Street and the 401ks and the IRAs. I'm telling you, 35 to 50-year-olds, they don't know any better. They're stuck. They're stuck because they're quote unquote mature. They've been fed the lies the longest, and they're just like, well, I guess this is all there is. That's my take.
All right, we'll stop there. I mean, I got plenty more to throw at you, but I don't want to overwhelm you.
No, this is good. This is good. I mean, a number of things to say just to completely discredit everything you guys said. The first thing is, so just out of curiosity, how much passive income do you guys have?
I mean, we report it every single month, man. Just go to wallstreet.com/passive-income.
Right. And y'all are in that 35 to 50-year-old age bracket, right?
Yeah.
Same point as made previously in this podcast.
And are y'all earning the most money you've ever earned in your lives now than you were in your 25 to 35-year-old age range?
No doubt. Every year, I've made more money than the previous year.
Yes.
Beautiful. And all the mistakes from being immature from 25 to 35, you've gleaned from those and have grown in maturity to make better financial decisions now, which is why you've been able to accomplish what you've been able. How long ago did y'all start your passive income journey for the audience here, the listeners?
We started doing, I mean, seriously, probably 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So in 7 years, you've been able to amass $1.2 million a year of passive income in 7 years, which is from
it's a little less. I mean, the gross, yes.
Yeah, which is from 35 to 50, in that age range is when y'all have been able to really get focused, harness that maturity from your younger years, use that high peak earnings to start deploying into investments to achieve what you've been able to achieve. Yes?
Yes, it took us a really long time, to your point. You're right.
And in that age range, though, and just out of curiosity, we have a passive income mastermind, yes?
Yes.
We do.
What's the average age of the members of our passive income mastermind?
ChatGPT.
If you don't know, I'll tell you what it is. It's 43. Okay? 43 is the average age of each member in our passive income mastermind. Which is in what age bracket again? What cohort is it? I'm just saying, there's mic drop, right?
Okay. All right. So this is a chance that you guys can pick apart something I said. So take a shot.
Go ahead, Joe. I'll let you go first.
Well, I'll go ahead and tell you I don't really listen to a whole lot that you say, Russ, but
he just told a story. He didn't really give much of
the story was about quality and quantity. And to be honest, like let's just bring it back to the basics. Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking passive income greater than monthly expenses. And I'll go ahead and tell you that the same thing is true what I just pointed out for JD, but it's even worse. Okay. For the 50 to 65-year-old, let's be real. At this point, something's wrong. You're like, oh, snap. I thought there was this thing called retirement, and what I had in mind is not actually happening, but I don't know what to do. And I'm not willing to change because I'm too worried about making a big mistake. I think that's the biggest challenge for that 50 to 65 or 50 plus, whatever we're calling this, because they can't afford to make a mistake. And that is going to keep them from action. What do you say, JD?
Yeah, no, I think that particular age demographic can tend to look back over past mistakes and be a little more conservative going forward. And when you have a lower time horizon, I think that can certainly be a hindrance as well. So you're not willing to take risks that you would have taken in my ideal age bracket of 35 to 50, right? I think something else that's important too. So the median 401k balance for somebody that's in that cohort is $87,000. That's the median 401k balance as reported by Fidelity, Vanguard, and Kiplinger's, if you want to cite that source there, Russ. I think something else that's also important is 14%. It's a pretty big number. 14% of expenses for folks in that cohort is going to medical expenses, right? And that's actually only growing at like 5 to 7% every single year, which is going to cut a massive chunk out of your passive income expense, or rather your overall, active income to go create passive income. And then take it a step further, then we have to look at average life expectancy, right? Average life expectancy is about 73, right? That's as of 2024, the global average life expectancy is 73.4.
Whoa.
Now that certainly varies based on gender and location and some of those types of things. For example, women certainly live longer, biological women. And so I just think it's important, right, that we just look at the stats and the facts, Russ, is that while the effort is great and that you will certainly get there, getting there faster should be left to the young men here that are 35 to 50.
All right. What say you, Russ? What say you?
I mean, I got a lot of things. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at the CDC site, and it tells me that as of 2024, just validate what I'm reading, right?
I can read you.
Can you tell me, just for the audience's purposes, the average life expectancy in the United States is approximately
79.25 is what it says.
Okay, so this is a slight increase from the previous years.
This is a non sequitur, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and
reflecting ongoing improvements in healthcare and living conditions. Yeah. So when you said 73, I'm not certain. Hey, you said globally.
That was global. I mean, not U.S. Global.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if we take into account third world countries where they're drinking, water through a Dixie cup out of a mud hole, that's possible, right? But I'm just going to say, like with in America, that's where I'm living. Right. I'm going to say, the best country in the world, we are living a little longer. And there's a couple of things around that. Also, you said cannot afford, well, the average net worth of someone in their mid to late 50s is $1.5 million. $1 million greater than the average net worth of a 40 to 45-year-old. So Well, do I have less time, but I do have more money? And so we can talk about the differences.
Well, hold on now. Can you eat net worth? Can you spend net worth?
Well, here's what I see and what I've experienced in this, right? Because I've been doing the financial game for a while now, since going back to 2004. I can't remember when you guys got in, but when I've been doing this, I've seen a couple of people around the block, and I've seen people that not only had this net worth, but what did they do with it? They were motivated. They were severely motivated because of the time horizon. They were not going to kick the can around. I mean, take, for instance, what would happen to a 25-year-old? It's like, hey, I got a game of Mario Kart I could play, where guys in their 50s, they're like, I can't mess with that. I got to get going because I don't have as much time. And they'll take it over. The 14% expenses toward healthcare. Fair assessment. I'm not disagreeing with that. But you know what also happens for people in their 50s? They start getting rid of the largest expenses on the payroll. You know what those three expenses are? Their mortgage. The average person pays off their home in their mid-50s. They also have gotten rid of that you talked about, student loan debt. The average student loan debt is paid off at age 48. So now when I'm at 50, I've gotten rid of that. And you know what the third large expense that as parents are holding are the expenses for kids. That the last kid leaves on average at age 48 for those parents. So what I'm experiencing is a significant reduction in the living expenses that you guys are in the middle of and about to receive. So while I may have to pick up some expenses on the healthcare side, I believe that according to Nelson Nash, I've gotten rid of 25 to 30% of the expenses, the interest on debt. We talked about that, in Nelson's book, he talked about over 30 cents of every dollar is being paid on interest on debt. I've gotten rid of that. And now I'm in a much better position to start focusing on building passive income that exceeds my monthly expenses.
Well, and I'm glad you pointed that out, Russ, because you're right. There may be fewer expenses at that age, but when have you ever played the game cash flow when somebody got free from their debts and now all of a sudden they were free financially? Never.
No, but see, what your point is, I didn't say that I was trying to pay them off. I'm saying I've already have them paid off. So you're asking if I want to go back and I want to leverage the home that I paid off, I've got more access to cash than the guy who just bought his first home with the 3% down payment on a house that now is not worth what he paid for it. I'm just telling you, I'm in a position where my home's paid off. Bro, another thing is, we're going to talk about an expense, is that if I did want to go, JD, get my mortgage, if I wanted to go back to the bank and I wanted to say, hey, I've paid off this house over the last 30 years, but I recognize that debt freedom doesn't equal financial freedom. And I need to take this equity and I need to turn it into cash so I can turn it into cash flow. Would you guys like to guess who has the highest credit score on average of the three age groups? I'll let you know. Ages 60 and plus have an average credit score of 753. That's compared to 706 for your age group, JD, and Joey, for yours is 680. Now, you're in the mortgage world. A 720 credit score and above is considered very good. They also are receiving better rates, cheaper money to be able to go borrow. So not only do I have access to money, but I can get that money at a much cheaper discount than the two of you guys.
All I'm saying is I don't need a 750 credit score to go buy a quadplex that I house hack, and I'm financially free in the first purchase. I'm just saying, like, my expenses are so low. You guys are sucking wind trying to pay for everybody. You're the sandwich generations anyway. You're paying for parents, you're paying for kids. I'm just taking care of me. I don't even have to worry about, I'm not even potentially married at 25. I'm literally financially free in the first home purchase I make. Like, let's just talk about that for a second.
So wonderful points, Russ. And I can tell that you certainly took time to really research and dig deep. Would you say that Albert Einstein is really smart or not so smart?
I didn't know him personally. I'm not that old, but right, I would have definitely credited him with being one of the smarter IQs out there. Yeah,
totally. And he's credited as saying that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Yes,
I've heard that. Yes,
you've heard that. Okay, so if my cohort of people, right, because we have money, unlike Joey's, if we were to start saving money today, even if at a much smaller volume over the next 30 years, but your cohort didn't start until later, but on a higher balance started saving, who ends up with more money? Our cohort.
We're keeping track. Hey, we're keeping score on the wrong scorecard. Accumulating cash is not the way to financial freedom.
Well, but you're just assuming we all three started zero, and I mean the statistics going to tell me that's not true. I got a lot more cash. So again, just like the potential earning, I'm talking about what I actually have.
Because you grew it during our age group. Like that's just what happened. You took it from the success in our age group of already achieving financial freedom, and you took it into your 60s with you, and in your 50s, and now you're in Mexico, Bermuda, Bahama, and you are come on pretty mama. All I'm saying is that because of the great success you had from 35 to 50, now you're financially free, and so I don't even know why we're talking about 50 plus, because you made it.
All right. Well, this has been fun. We've got to make a final pitch here as we wrap up. If there's not a point that I know Joey didn't write any down, but if there's not a point that you got a chance to throw in there, this is your opportunity. Let's hear.
All right. 25 to 35-year-olds, listen up. This is your call to action. Don't let the fact that money is not prevalent in your life be the reason that you sit on this idea of financial freedom. You have more hustle, potentially. Now, you can be lazy too, but you have the opportunity for hustle because you have more time. You have the ability to use your tech skills. Your ability to get in and out of technology far surpasses the next two generations, by a long shot. Use that to your benefit to make things easier to get to financial freedom as fast as possible. And be about building relationships with people with experience and money. Because when you find the opportunities, as you will if you hustle, you use your time wisely, and you get after this thing, you will by far get to financial freedom faster than the next generation.
All right, John David.
Yeah, that's a great sentiment. And I think you should believe it and you should do it. I think also if you're in that 35 to 50-year-old age cohort here, let the example that Russ and Joey and Wealth Without Wall Street, that we are trailblazing before you in that age bracket of folks that are achieving financial freedom, let that be the motivation you need to know that you are going to get there because you are in the best earning years of your life. You have the financial wisdom from the mistakes you made from 25 to 35, right? You're willing to take some risk. You've got kids, which is going to motivate you to earn more. You've got all the right pieces in front of you to be able to have unbelievable success. And for the record, Joey and Russ, like I said before, they are literally the poster children for this in this age bracket. So thank you guys for proving my point.
All right. So here's one thing I want to speak to you 50 and over, that, there's a lot of times we get the question, am I too old? And the answer is no. Our mentor, Nelson Nash, if you read his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, he talks about all these things that started happening to him in his early 50s. The succession of bad things that were happening. But yet he made changes in his early 50s that propelled what we experience today. The legacy that he's been able to give to 3 and 4 generations, not to mention all of us who've been impacted by him, started in his early 50s. So it's definitely not too late. Also, you're in a position of windfalls, right? We talked about the fact that you've gotten rid of all these debts, but also this is the time frame where you're also going to start receiving windfalls. If you have been putting money into one of those qualified plans, one of those things we talk about are hindrances when you're in the 20s and when you're in the 30s and 40s, but maybe you did it and the money's there, but now you're at the position at 59 and a half where you can actually start accessing that money and putting it to work on your behalf. Not to mention, we also at a point where if you do have parents and they were savers and they were keeping up with money, you're going to start receiving windfalls from that in the form of inheritance. So I also believe, though, I know how important it is to leave a legacy, how important it is to want more for our kids and our grandkids and even our great-grandkids. So I believe that you have more focus on that than ever because you want to be that patriarch. You want to be the one that someone's celebrating 100 years from now because of the actions you took at this point. Now, if you're in the 25 to 35-year-old, I'm rooting for you. If you're in the 35 to 50-year-old, I am rooting for you. This is an opportunity for you to hopefully hear lots of different ways. We wanted to poke holes probably at the things that people tell you that you can't do. But the honest truth is we have seen people all across all spectrums become financially free. And I hope that you found this both funny, entertaining, but hopefully educational as well. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.